A new universe is at hand, Nintendo NES players. Game Handler. The only handheld controller you only need one hand to play. Slow motion, rapid fire. Switch A and B buttons in play. Play your games in ways you never thought possible before. Approved by the One-Hand Popcorn Eaters of America. All your games are now reborn with Game Handler from IMN Control. Can you handle it?
After you've opened the packaging to take out your Game Handler controller and plugged it in, make sure you take a look at our easy-to-follow illustrated instruction booklet. And don't forget to send in your warranty card so that you can start receiving our newsletter, which will update you on new tricks and features for Game Handler. Now get your hand comfortably around your Game Handler controller. Get a good feel for it. Game Handler was designed so that all buttons are easily accessible while you're playing. Here's your Start button. Here's your Select button. Here's the button which switches the functions of the A and B buttons. Notice the button is pushed in at the top. Therefore, your trigger is your A button. Notice your A light in the front. And the side button is your B button. Notice the B light goes on at the back. When you push in this button at the bottom, the functions of the A and B buttons are reversed, but the indicator lights stay the same. Now your trigger is the B button, with the B light still in the back, and the side button is your A button, with the A light still in the front. Here's the mode switch on the other side of your Game Handler controller. It's a 3-position switch, which, as pictured here, is in the lower position. When the switch is clicked into the lower position, as shown again in the lower left corner, your Game Handler is in the regular mode. This will give you a single shot each time you push your A or B buttons. The middle picture shows the mode switch in the middle position, which is the rapid fire mode. This will give you continuous shots as long as you hold in your A or B buttons. The upper right corner picture shows the mode switch clicked into the upper position, which is the slow motion mode. Note that slow motion doesn't work with all games, just like most of the other controllers you've probably played with. It's just the way that the game software was written. For the most part, though, you'll want to begin with your mode switch in the regular mode when you're getting started, and then put it into a different position later if you decide to. Here's Game Handler in a neutral position. Holding it level to the floor should keep your character still. Here's how you move your character on screen. Simply tilt your Game Handler controller in 3-dimensional space. Up, down, left, right. Allow yourself a few minutes practice with Game Handler for each of your games to get a feel for the way Game Handler operates. Now let's play some games. Here's Double Dragon 2 by Acclaim. Watch how your hand movements with your Game Handler controller make your character move on screen. The motions are deliberate yet smooth. Now be sure not to tilt Game Handler too far in any one direction, or your character may stop or change directions. You don't want to activate any of Game Handler's secrets. Not just yet anyway. We'll show you some of those later on in this tape. You can change the sensitivity of Game Handler in games that don't use up, like Super Mario Bros. 3 by Nintendo. Here's regular movement. Now by tilting your hand forward, you can move Mario back and forth with less effort. And if you tilt your hand almost horizontal with the floor, he really moves back and forth quickly. Here's what we call the axis rotation. If your character gets stuck or flutters when moving left or right, try rotating your wrist forward until your character moves smoothly, as seen here in the Rocketeer by Bandai. As you play with Game Handler more, you'll soon discover Game Handler makes some games easier because of reversible A and B buttons, because you can push 3 buttons and move a direction all at the same time, or simply in games where you fly around the entire screen, like in Starship Hector by Hudson Soft. Game Handler can give you more fluid control over the cursor in Maniac Mansion by Jalico. And Game Handler can really help you out in games where you need quick movements left and right, like Ninja Gaiden by Tecmo. As you give yourself more time to practice with Game Handler, you also find that Game Handler makes some games more challenging, such as multi-screen role-playing adventure games like Chrysalis by SNK. And you'll have the challenge of Game Handler in figuring out the best battle sequences in games like The Immortal by Electronic Arts. Probably the most challenging game with Game Handler is Dr. Mario by Nintendo. You can slide those pills quicker so you can get over that extra row when you need it, but you'll need to practice and don't be afraid to use those walls. Best of all though, you'll find that Game Handler makes every game more interesting and more fun, like Bubble Bobble by Taito, or other games you may have already beaten. And arcade classics are more fun too, like Joust by HAL America, because Game Handler gives you a new dimension, a new way to play. With Game Handler, Top Gun by Konami and other flight simulator type games are more interesting, more lifelike. And racing games are better with Game Handler, like F1 Built to Win by Seta, where you can have more control over the car by tilting the controller forward to increase sensitivity. Or Cabal by Milton Bradley, or other games requiring rapid movements all over the screen. Now with Game Handler you have new moves, new strategies, and new techniques. Okay, let's get up close now for some more Game Handler tips. Menu selection in games like Super Off-Road by Trade West are easier if you hold the controller steady, quickly jerk it in the direction of your selection, and then return it to an upright position. You might also want to experiment and try shaking the controller in the direction of your selection, and see which method works easier for you. But for the most part, we think that you'll find it easier to jerk the controller in the direction and return it to an upright position. Here's a tip for Super Mario Bros. 2 from Nintendo. To help Mario or Luigi go up the vine, simply hold in the B button while you're climbing, and you shouldn't have to worry about them falling off. Here's a tip for Megaman 3 from Capcom. To slide, simply pull the Game Handler back, and Megaman goes underneath the ledge with no problem at all. Now be careful that you don't pull back too far, or else you'll activate some of the other directions. Here's Robocop by Data East. The steps are challenging even with the pad, but if you lean your controller back and to the left, going down the steps is very easy. Here's Spy Hunter from Sunsoft. This is a great illustration of how the conveniently placed select button enhances gameplay. Note the select button is pushed to change your weapons in the middle of the game. Now all you have to do is simply reach down with your little finger, push the select button, and you don't have to stop in the middle of your game to change your weapons. Okay, now let's show you some secrets and tricks you can do only with the Game Handler. Here's Zanak from FCI. It's a typical flying game that will show you our temporary slow motion. First, put the game into slow motion, and use that to maneuver out of trouble. Then, hold in the start button to return to regular speed. When you get in trouble again, simply release the start button, and you'll be back in slow motion. When you push the start button again to return to regular speed, if the game pauses, simply push the start button in and out quickly. Here's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game from Ultra. And here's Michelangelo just doing his regular thing. Now he's walking along, not in any real danger. Oh, cowabunga, dude, what was that? Michelangelo just disappeared and reappeared. Again, a trick you can do only with the Game Handler. Simply push your jump button, twist your wrist quickly, and Michelangelo will disappear and reappear. As you get better at the game, you will actually be able to control where he lands on the screen. If you've already beaten Super Mario Bros. 1 by Nintendo, simply hold your controller down and see if you can beat the game running backwards. If Mario gets stuck on you, keep pushing your A button and give him a jump start. The game is a lot harder this way, trust me. Whoa, what happened to that pitch? Again, and only with the Game Handler from IMN Control. You can make the original baseball by Nintendo do some really wild pitches. Look at this. Over towards first base, back slowly over, and across the plate. Oh, now if that had been another person playing there instead of the computer, they would have swung at that, I'm sure. But watch this. You can actually go around behind the batter and get a strike. To activate these super slow pitches, all you have to do is hold the controller upside down and quickly pull it back up. Then move the controller slowly left and slowly right, back and forth to control the pitch. There's even a way to make this do a super slow pitch, and the computer will register the speed of the pitch as some weird code. Find out what that code is, send it in, and we'll put you in our newsletter. By tipping the controller upside down, you can also do another trick with Gauntlet 2 by Mindscape. Again, only with the Game Handler controller, you can actually control two players without the force score or without anything else. You can walk in unison with the character, or sometimes you have to get behind him and give him a little push. But it's a great feature because he'll actually take hits for you, so you don't have to deplete as much of your energy. Now the game does freeze up occasionally, like you see here, but that is normal. The software was not really designed for one controller to control two characters, but you can do this quite effectively. You can go over and get the key, come back over, use him to fire at some of the bad guys for you as well, push him in front of the doorway, and let him take all the hits for you. Game Handler. It's everywhere, but you are the key, because through the newsletter, we want to get you involved. Send us in that warranty card so you can become a subscriber. Then send us in all the tricks and hints and tips and everything else that you find. We'll publish your name and your secrets in the newsletter. We'll also keep you posted on all the new games and products we're developing. The Game Handler Expander Series add-ons will allow you to keep adding new and future technologies to bring you closer to the ultimate in gameplay. We want to put you in control.